Good morning. So we're up to Shin Samach Beis Seif Gimel. Says the Mechaba, Mechitza Omedes Me'eleho. So you got a wall which you didn't put up for Eruv purposes. It just was Omedes Me'eleho. It was standing there by itself. It wasn't constructed for Mechitza purposes. Kashera, that is still a valid wall. Mechitza shenasis b'Shabbos kashera. Furthermore, a mechitza which is made on Shabbos is valid. But that's only if it was made b'shoigeg by you didn't avol b'mezid. But if it was done on purpose, then have a mechitza lahachmir lechayev. Then we treat it as a mechitza lahachmir that you'll be chayev hazorik mishram l'soich if you throw from a shram into it. Avoloi lahatir. But if it was put up a mazid on Shabbos, we don't allow you to carry in that area. Let's just do the Mishnah until there. Kashera. So if a mechitza omedes me'eleho, that's considered kashera. Shabbos, even if you weren't relying on that erev Shabbos, but you just noticed there's a wall there, that's okay. The Shabbos kashera. Va'afilu lenasis gamkein l'shem mechitza. Even if it wasn't done l'shem mechitza. When do we say it's a good wall? If it was done b'shogeg, shelo yoda shayim Shabbos, the classic two definitions of what shogeg is. Either you didn't know today was Shabbos, or shehoya shigas melacha, that I didn't know that construction boina is also on Shabbos. V'imtziva Reuven l'Shimon lasos mechitza kadei l'talteba. If Reuven instructed Shimon to construct this wall, or he knew that Shimon was doing it for him, and I'm quite happy about that I can now carry in this area. But if Reuven knew about that, then it's mashma from the Rambam that he cannot therefore use this eruv. After Shimon also b'shkag, even if Shimon may have been b'shoigeg, since Reuven knew about it, to the day nechshav kamezid, for him it's considered mezid. Okay, and if it was put up a mazid, then we treat it as a wall to be mechayev you, that if you throw from a Rishus Rabbim into it, that will make you chayev, but not to allow you to carry in it. Mishum knas, it's a penalty. Gam lekol adam, and therefore it will be also for any person to carry in that area. Okay, says the Mechaba, continuing the Mechaba, top line. There we're talking about a situation where there was no Mechitza from the outset. But if there was a wall, and then you remove it, and then you put it back up again, you can go back to the original permit to carry. If you've got 2 or 3 people, they make a sort of these divisions with mats or things like that, and they make divisions between them, and they make an eruv to enable them to carry in that area. They're allowed to carry from one to the other. But if the mats sort of wind up and therefore your mechitzas have gone, then they now become forbidden to carry in that area. If the mats now reopened, even b'mezid, you go back, you revert back to the original heter. Okay, says in Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton Schof, Shelo Yisasham, Vuadin Kashoysa V'Nistra Kodim Shabbos, or either it wasn't there, or it was there, but it was knocked down before Shabbos. V'Hesira, and then you removed it. The Revusa knockout. It's telling me a bigger chiddush for Kol Shkein Kashehusra Mimela, and certainly if it was just Mimela taken down. He actually actively took it down. You could have explained the more simple illustration. But one guy, he has a fence, and that became a Rosh Hashanah, and he just put it down on Shabbos, and then he put it back up again. And that's what he could have said, a very simple case. And the He's coming to teach me a chiddush of where there were 2 or 3 people involved, even if the eruv between them was not bottle, we allow them to carry between them when the machatzlois, when these mats were reopened. Sif Kotzen Chaf Gimel, shekifu b'machatzlois, During the week, they were opened with these partitions. And you fix them in a way that the wind will not move them. And through it, you've created a Rishus Yachid. Every Yachid, and they make one Erev together. Even though you've got these divisions, since these two or three people can carry derech machatzeles, it's as if there's a window or something between them. I'll just read that again. They're allowed to make this erev together. Nigla machatzelah, as if these mats, they were rolled up and therefore you've destroyed your wall. Then Nesru and Chosru, but then they were reinstated. Then Afil b'mezid Chosru later narishon. Says the Mishnah Berurah Chovav Afil b'mezid v'das Reva Poiskim to Mechitza shenas al yoda b'Shabbos Rishus HaYochid, a Mechitza that was constructed on Shabbos. Loi amrina de Chosru later rishon. We don't say that it goes back to its original permit, kashenas b'mezid, when this wool was done b'mezid. Rakim belav hochi hayoyse makom Rishus HaYochid. Unless the original place was always a Rishus HaYochid, shoymuk of mechitzas, it was surrounded by mechitzas, but also mechitzas be'emsa shalodin is chalkad yerin. And they made a mechitza in the middle just to sort of divide up that this is your share, this is my share. Ve'erev kol achas b'fnei atzman, each person made an erev. V'chashenofla oisa mechitza, and then when that middle mechitza came down, nesru l'taltel b'pnei she'osun zelzeh, they were not allowed to carry in the middle because each side asad on the other. In that situation, when you reconstruct this middle mechitza, afil b'mezid, af da'asiyosei ova al isotera, even though you may have been involved in an Issa min HaTorah of construction on Shabbos, Mikol Mokum Chosel Later Rishon, nevertheless we allow you to go back to the original allowance to carry, because even before you put that middle mechitza down, we're talking about an area which was a Rishus HaYochid. Ve'ein Orach isn't a Rishus HaYochid. Ve'ein Orach lechalek hadiyar, and that middle mechitza was just to divide up the space between these two people. And again, we're talking about a case where there was a mechitza and it fell down. But if there was never a mechitza there, and then you weren't constructed, af shehu rak lechalek diyerin, then if it was just put there to divide the residence, also that would be also because it was done b'mezid on Shabbos. Okay, so Hayotz Midvareinu in Sif Gimel is that a mechitza that it was just standing by itself, that you didn't put it up there to Shem mechitza, is a valid mechitza. A mechitza that was constructed on Shabbos, which is of course not allowed to do, is a valid mechitza, is kashera, but so long as it was done b'shoigeg. If it was done b'mezid, then we treat it lahachmir, which means that if a person throws from one rishus into it, he's chayev, but not to allow you to carry inside it. Okay, dalet. Now this is interesting shaila. What about a ship? So if you're now in the depths of winter, you're dreaming of a cruise in nice hot weather, would you be allowed to carry on that ship over Shabbos? So the answer is yes. Says the Mechaber, Sfina mutar taltel b'kula. You're allowed to carry in the entire boat. Even if it's a very large boat and it's more than Beis Hasayim, it's a chashiva mukefes ledira because it's called mukaf ledira. The actual mechitzas are there for the residential usage, which is what you're doing when you're living on the boat. If you sort of turn the ship upside down, imagine like a rowing boat or something like that, even a large one, and you turn it upside down, then it's got the status of Rishus HaYochid on top of it. But if you turn it upside down to tar it, you want to sort of to paint it with tar, then you can only carry Daled Amasim if it is more than Beis Hasayim. Okay, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. So you're allowed to carry on a boat on Shabbos, and then he refers you to this Hagar in Shim Tzamach Vav. So if you take a look at footnote 11, it explains to you what he says there. Shom nisboeh she'em yesh besfina batzim hashayachim la'anoshim nifrodim ve'em ochlim bohem tzrichim heim la'arev b'nei mer v'chatzeres. So if you've got a boat where people, they're not all, there's not like one group, right? Where you've got different people in their own little cabins eating there, and they're just separate entities, then you've got a problem. Then they ask on each other. But if you've got a boat where you've got all the, I've been on it one time where we were giving shiurim on one summer so it was on a boat. All the people there were Jewish people. It was one boat, 50, 100 people, whatever it was, and everyone is there. And they're all eating in the same dining room. And so then that's what it's referring to. There's no problem you can carry throughout the boat. But if they've got separate compartments and they're all eating in their own compartments, they're not together, then they would need to make an erev chatzeres. Oid kos v'sham harama v'mishnah bura she'im ein lesfinas mechitzas. If the boat doesn't have mechitzas, also the talta ba'ala toich taladamas k'mishul karmelis. You can imagine like a cargo ship which may not have walls. They just pile up these cases or these on them. Then if they haven't got mechitzas, then it's considered like a karmelis, and you can only carry daladamas. You count the mechitza from the bottom of the wall. Now, from the bottom of the ship. Now, even if that is submerged in water, that still counts. So that you still could have mechitza, even though you can only see it maybe a few tefachim above water. Because at the end of the day, this has got a 10 tefachim. Okay, weiter in Mishnah Berurah. Afoleha ta'aminan gud asik mechitza. So we said if you turned over the boat, so what does that mean? Ta'aminan gud asik mechitza. That we say gud achis. You take the sides of the boat and you let them sort of pull them up. And therefore the normal rules apply. It's as if it's mukaf ledira with mechitzas all the way around it through gudachis. You treat it as mukaf ledira. Okay, fine. He said, interestingly, footnote 12, the Sheina Halachas, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, writes, Shegag shitchei gadol yosim beis osayim. If you've got a very large roof area, mutar letaltel boy, af sheloi hukaf ledira. Even though it's not mukaf ledira, why? Shekivin shamachitzas habayis hekifu ledira, since the walls of the house underneath it are mukaf ledira. Again, you say the same principle of what we said here. Namely, you say good achis. You say good asik. The mechitzas go upwards, and therefore the area on the roof area, since it's good asik from mechitzas which are mukaf ledira, you'd be allowed to carry on that roof area. Okay, good. Weiter, choftes, ela ba'arba amas, to bezesh a kofel is also. But if you turned over the boat to tar it, not to sort of live on top of it, bittul ha-mechitza, say teres dira, you've now been mevatlit from teres dira because you're painting the boat. V'lochein af tachteh ein metaltlin bo ela arba amas, and therefore even if ein metaltlin bo ela arba amas, you can only carry 4 amas, given shei yosim beis osayim, because that's the rule. If it's more than beis osayim, it's not mukaf dira. You can only carry dalad amas. V'chol shekein lamalo, and if that's true underneath it, then it's certainly true above it. Okay, Seif Hey. Very interesting. But kol oisim mechitza. What are the materials of a mechitza? So bekalim or ukvais, you can use kalim. You can use a saddle of an animal, of a horse. Bein shel erev levad, whether it's erev levad means which horizontal ones like ropes. Kagoin shel chavolim. Imagine you do like a rope one and you've got big gaps. Oishel shesi, or the picket fence we had, they're verticals. Levad kagoin konim nuutzim baaretz. And you can make an eruv out of this. You could make an enclosure out of this, even if it's up to Beis Osayim, even if it's for a yochid, for an individual in a residential area. So long as you haven't got a gap between each rope, a horizontal rope. Because imagine, if you've got an area where you're sort of camping on Shabbos, and you've got the ropes going around horizontally, so long as you haven't got a gap between the ropes of more than 3 tefachim, you apply lovet, and therefore it's as if you've got a solid wall. And so too, bein kon lechaver shlosh tvachim. You've got picket fences, you've got sticks sticking into the ground. So long as and they're vertical, so long as they're not for gaps of 3 tefachim between them, you're going to be okay. Va'afilu b'ba'alei chayim. You can even use animals. Or b'vad shu kafusim. So long as the animals are tied down. You can even use human beings. But pachas mishleisha, within 3 tefachim of each other, they could be your mechitza. You can have a walking, movable mechitza. So imagine you've got a group of people around you, and then you're walking and carrying things. Your rishus hayochid is portable. Chashuv mechitza b'nei rishus hayochid, and in the area in between them is rishus hayochid. V'hu shelo yedu she'umdu l'sham mechitza. However, as a gezerah drabanan, we want them not to know that they are mechitza. Otherwise, they'll be mezalzel on the whole concept. Also, even if one of them knows, it's not allowed. Even if you're not telling them, if it's likely they're going to know about it, they did it once before, because it's a zilzul, as we'll see in the Mishnah Berurah. So, very broad application of what materials can be used for mechitza. You can make it out of kalim, out of saddles, with ropes, with sticks within 3 tefachim of each other, and even with animals that are tied down, even with human beings walking. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Lamed, the kalim uva ukvois, af sheim asidim linotel achar Shabbos, even if they are going to be removed after Shabbos, could go in shel chavolim, for example, the ropes, have mesuchim al yesedes al tzukus baris, which are stretched out on pegs in the ground, but up to a base sosayim. V'lo Yosef, but not more than that. Even if it was mukaf l'dira. Why? As we've said previously, kivin she mechitza grua. These chavolim, or these sticks in the ground, they are considered a mechitza grua, an inferior shvacha type of mechitza. Shasi b'lo erev lo shasi. V'ayin le'el siman shin mem. Shin samach, b'viyah halacha. V'afilu yochid b'yishuv. You could have made, you're in a residential area, you're not in the middle of the wilderness, and you could have got proper material to build a good fence. We allow you to make it up to Beis Hosayim, and certainly that would be allowed if you're in a bika, to make this inferior fence there. Therefore, given that you can't have a gap of more than 3, you could have 4 ropes horizontally, and that would be sufficient. Because remember, you've got to get to a height of 10 tefachim. And if you've got 3 ropes, but the combination of the width or the thickness of the rope is 1 tefach, you'd also be okay. You could use even as little as 3 chavolim. For example, the lowest one you put within 3 tefachim of the ground, and then gaps of just like less than 3 between each one, so you could construct a wall of 10 tefachim with only 3 horizontal ropes. Of a tzir of avyon, asar tvachim, because the thickness of 1 tefach would bring it up to 10. Lamed hey, uvein, it would actually be a bit more than a tefach. Okay, lamed hey, uvein konel lechavero, between each vertical stick, the loved kasasim dom, your loved closes it up. Now, this is talking about the animal. The animal's got to be tied down. Why? You tied it up before Shabbos, and it's therefore stationary. The reason why you need it to be tied down is twofold. Echod shelo yavrichu, they shouldn't run away, and therefore that kills your mechitza. And v'gam di'ilav hachi yeh hefsek bein chalal shebein ragle bein malaretz, because otherwise you're going to have this big opening under the actual body of the animal between its legs. Avol kashi kafusa, but when it's tied down, shecheves beguf ala karka, it's now sort of lying down, and therefore you're going to be okay. And if the animal is sitting down, it's going to be at least 10 tefachim tall. The Gemara talks about a pill, an elephant, and things like that. So we're talking about a large animal. But so this is now talking about a mechitza made out of human beings, and it can be portable. It's surrounded on 4 sides by people. It's a proper mechitza. V'uadin the Mechitza kazu have a hefsek in the dabe b'divrei neged makom she'ein noki. Right, so a person wants to talk and think in learning, and you have people around him. That helps you. It's considered a proper mechitza. For who? We had Rabbi Zimmerman in school recently. So Rabbi Hartman said, someone told him that if you notice, Rabbi Zimmerman lives in Beverly Gardens, which is just down the road from Grudzinski, and then Hagas is on the next road. There's an alleyway behind Grudzinski that you can cut through to go to Hagas. You know what I mean? So he never uses it. Now for him, he would go up Beverly Gardens, go through the alleyway and go to Hagas. It's much quicker. But he doesn't. He goes to Gold String Road and goes all the way around. So someone asked him, why don't you just go the shortcut? It's much easier. So he said, because his cheshish in that alleyway, there are dustbins there and you can't think in learning. Yeah, yeah. Okay, lamates. V'hu shelo yedu. So long as the chevra who are going to be the mechitzas, they don't know about it. But after mechitza kazu, ein ba mishum binyan Shabbos, even though there's no problem of binyan on Shabbos, of making this human mechitza, mikol makom asa kasheyedu. It's going to be asa if they do know about it. Why? Kadei shelo yavo lezilz b'issa Shabbos. Otherwise, they're going to sort of be a bit flippant and be mezalzel the issa of Shabbos. Afilu b'diavad asa. V'dinu k'mechitza anasis b'mezit. And lo yasa mehem. V'im adam acher reshai lasos me mechitza. If another person wants to use them for mechitza, have a sofik. That's not clear because the chevra who are the mechitza have already done once before, but it's being organized by another person. So that's a sofik. The shemi yargishu b'zeh because maybe they'll realize that they're once again being used for a mechitza. Over Eli Rabbi mekel b'zeh, his mekel. Mechitza oid. What was this talking about? Memalef. Yeah, but even if one of them, or they've done it once before, they can't make a mechitza again. Even on another Shabbos, because it's very likely they know what they're there for. They're doing it with their knowledge. There, we're not worried because you didn't know they knew about it. Even the first time. Unless, there's a whole group of people and you say, come, let's go. And you're walking in between them, that you've got your asa shekar v'adov shagisha because they're going to chap, they're going to know. The gam kashem mahalchin muta, who kashem mahalchin me'alz, and that's when they're walking by themselves. They don't know about it. So you've got your portable mechitza with these, this entourage of people walking. They don't know about it. They just happen to be walking. There's a large group of people and it's not evident, it's not recognizable. You're walking in between them, and they are your portable mechitza. Okay, we'll leave it there.